Okay, so we're talking about encapsulation in Python, right? Encapsulation in Python. Encapsulation is basically just a way to protect our data and wrap our data, hide our data in hide our data and attributes of our classes, right? So we've discussed about that encapsulation in our previous video. So we're going to be talking about the implementation of encapsulation in Python. So from what we've discussed before, we are going to be using the same example as class students. Class, we have a class student, but now we are just changing some parameters in the constructors. So we define our class as class here, student, and our dunder method, the initialization method init. So basically what we do is we define our init function, we pass in the name, the score, and the matric number, right? So here now, this is a public variable. Look at this, public attribute, or we can call it a public variable, yeah. So yeah, self.name equals to self is a public variable. It can be accessed by anyone and accessed in any class, right? But the self.score, we made it a private variable, right? We made it a private variable. So, oh, sorry, this is a protected variable rather. It's a protected variable. So this is, and the matric number is a private variable. So the protected variable in Python, we don't have like a specific way to name it. Like for example, in some other places you have to, in some other languages, say like Java, you'll write private in front of it to name it as a protected variable, a private variable. But in Python, you just use a single underscore. So self.single_score equals to score will give you a protected variable, right? But for the private variable, you have to use double underscore. So self.double_, matric number equals to matric number will give you a private variable. So for you to access the protected variable in other places, so there is a property called getters and setters in Python, right? So we use this at property annotation here in Python so that we'll be able to set the attribute. So we can be able to get it, and we can be able to get the score from within after we are done initializing it, right? So we just do this def score self, and we return the self._score so that we can be able to access it in other places. So for the setters, we use at score.setters. So that's like this is the getter and this is the setter, right? So we use at score.setter equals to, then we just do score and we pass in the value, right? We want to set the protected variable, right? So if we want to set the protected variable, this is what we do. So this is like an overloaded method in this sense. And what method overloading means is that you have the same function with the same function name, right? But they are collecting different parameters, right? So this one does not collect any extra parameter because we are getting it, right? And this one, we are setting it, so it collects a parameter. So this score method is overloaded. Let me go again. So method overloading means when you have two functions with the same name, but different parameters, right? So let's say this one, let's say for example, just arbitrarily, right? This one is also collecting the function, say value, right? But for it to be properly overloaded, this has to be an integer, and this has to be like, probably a string if this is collecting an integer, right? Since this is collecting an integer, this has to be a string, rather. So that makes it to be overloaded, right? So you can read more on method overloading. But if you want to do method overloading really in Python, you would have to understand the typing. You have to use the typing format. So say import from typing import overload. So you can use this you can use this as an overloaded form, right? So you can do this also. Yes, say something like this. Overload. So for me to be able to overload this display method, right? So I'll just do def display, and I can pass in another name, a name of a string, and I can just do probably print name or something in this format. So this overloads the method already. but we are not, that's not what we are here to talk about. So it's just something to talk about on the side, and probably something you can read more about on your own. Method overloading, it's very, very good. So another attribute we are also going to be talking about later on is method overriding. That's when we get into polymorphism and inheritance. We're going to be talking about method overriding there. So now the setters, we are back to the setters. This is a protected variable. So in order for you to be able to set it, because not anybody can just be able to set it from the outside. So we define a new function here, and this takes in the value we want to set it as. So what this here is doing is that if this value is not an integer, it's going to raise a type error and says the score must be an integer, right? So we are going to try it out and see on our own and check that the score must be an integer. Then if the score is an integer, then we are just going to set our underscore self underscore score equals to value of that stuff, or the value that we just passed into it. So that's what it's going to do. And now, as we have public methods, public variables, protected variables, and private variables, we also have as well private methods, protected method, and public method. By default, every method you create in a class in Python is public. So for you to create a private method, we have def underscore dash dash display, right? Underscore underscore display. We underscore underscore before the function name, right? So with this, we know that this method is a private method, and it can only be accessed by method in the same class. Even if it is inherited, it cannot be accessed by the inherited method, right? But if it's a protected variable, protected method, it can be accessed by its various subclasses. But since it's a private method, it cannot be accessed when it is even if it is inherited. Just put that at the back of your mind. It cannot be accessed even if it is inherited. So it's a private method for only this class. So now we do, and the only way the private method can be accessed is only by another function in the same class, right? So now we do this. Private method can be called by another method in the same class. So we do this, make this a private method, display a private method, and we print name, score, matrix number, and this, and format it. This is another method of string formatting. So I would implore you to read also on string formatting in Python to be able to understand and grasp the various methods of string formatting. We've seen that we've used various types of string formatting in the course so far on, and there are other types still, and I still implore you to just look more on string formatting. So this method now that we've created just prints the name of the student, the score, and the matrix number. So instead of using print here, we're just going to return. We're just going to return this. Return this. So, and now we're going to have a public method now. This def display, there is no underscore in front of it or double underscore in front of it, so it's a public method. So this public method then calls this private method to display it. So now let's just test our code and see. So now we initialize this student, S equals to student, and John, that's the name, the score 100, and the matrix number A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, blah, blah. And now we can call display here. So when we call display here, we can call print s.display. When we call print s.display, we run this. It's meant to return a value to us. So okay, let me just change this to a print statement and run this so that we can just see it printed on the screen. So when we run this, we have that. So when we just do s.display, we call s.display. That should actually display our method for us. So we run s.display, we get the name John, score 100, matrix number, the so-called number that we've put into it. So now to get s.score, so we print s.score. Now, when we print s.score, we are accessing this property, get the getter, like we mentioned. This is like the getter, and this is the setter. So when we do print s.score, we can see the score here now is 100, right? Now we want to change the score again to 99, something of that sort. So we just do s.score again, because now, and this time we are accessing the setter, right? Because now we are going to be saying is equal to something, right? So we are accessing the setter. So now we said s.score equals to 99. And when we print s.score again, we are going to get 99. So this is the previous score. Now let's just do it again, s.score again, we are going to get 99. The previous score there was 100. So now when we do s.display again, we are going to get the score to be this. Let's run s.display underneath this after setting this. So we're going to get, yeah, the score to be 99 now, and the matrix number has changed. So now when we want to change, let's say we want to print the matrix number, right? We want to print out the matrix number s.the matrix number, which is not going to work because it's a private variable. So once we run this, we are going to get an error. So student has no attribute dash dash matrix number. You cannot access a private variable outside the particular class. So now that's one of it. Let's say we want to access the private function also, s dash dash display. Okay, this should be display. So we run this also as well. We get the same error. Student has no attribute dash dash display. You cannot again access a private variable from outside the class. So this will be this on encapsulation.